of DRC labels, and they're all categorized by particular domains or groups of domains. There's Ponceaus in here. I've got mostly from the 80s. That's a major wine. Yeah, that's one of his best. Sometimes you only get to taste them once in your life, if you get to taste them at all, so it's kind of fun. I was introduced to Rudy by John Capon at an Acker auction event over in Beverly Hills.
I want to drink Burgundy. That's me, of course.
He said, well, you're a Burgundy collector. What Burgundies do you like? I said, well, my favorites are probably Roumier, Rousseau, and DRC, Romani Conti.
You got that right, my friend. You got that right.
Right after that, he said, you should buy wines with me. He said, I buy cellars and collections in Europe all the time. And then I remember Rudy asked me, what's the oldest Roumier you've ever had? And I said, it was 1969. And I told him that I'd been lucky enough to find a couple at auction, that they're real hard to find. And then Rudy said, well, in the last year, I've had 1945, 1949, 1955, and 1962 Roumier Bon Noir. He picked the greatest red Burgundy vintages from that era. I was just flabbergasted. I had been looking for him for 25 years.
Burgundy is unique on the planet. A band of slope, so to say, which is 70 kilometers long and 1 kilometer wide, and composed by 1,250 different appellations.
Cette année, il y avait beaucoup de raisins. Et on verra si tout ça va tenir le coup jusqu'aux vendanges. Le paradis, paraît-il, est là-haut. En Bourgogne, je pense qu'il est plutôt en bas. Il est en bas par les racines et par les caves.
We are just 11 meters below the ground level here, and we are really the 2 feet in the history of Burgundy. See here, tiny roots from vines, which are probably here since 200 years. The vine is sucking, so to say, the rock. Going up on the hill on the other side of the street, the vines will not find the same mineral elements, and they will never find the same taste and aromas. The most important for me is what nature gives. We are only a tiny element of the chain. If one element breaks, the chain is broken, and you cannot reach the glass of wine.
Wine is the expression of place. And Burgundy is the ultimate example of this. It's a wine for obsessives. Someone who really knows their stuff can tell you the difference blind between something that was grown here and something that was grown 40 feet away.
It's really good. Incredible. This is probably insane. This is where I go crazy. This is my crazy spot. I get nervous and my blood pressure goes up.
It's the ultimate existential art form. It's living in a bottle, it's alive. And then you drink it and you absorb it into your body. It's art that becomes part of you, literally.
Well, that's Ponceau, who's a great producer. Hey, Carl.
Hello.
How you doing, babe?
I'm good.
A lot of good shit here. You have a few drinks and you come here and spend 100 grand on wine? This is the place, yeah. They're very, very reasonably priced. Where can you get a 61 white for 600 bucks? From 1961. This is crazy time. Yeah? 1990 Romani Conti. This is maybe one of the greatest bottles ever made of wine, right here. 20 grand, maybe?
20 grand. He knows his prices.
20 grand for the bottle. And you want this. If you like wine, you need this, you want this.
But you have to decide, do you want this or you want a Prius?
Yes, exactly. You trade it for a Prius.
When we drink wine, we don't look at the price value, you know. We look at what we get from the wine. The excitement, you know. The passion, the way they make the wine and everything. It's not about the price of the wine, you know. Some people...
Rudy was very generous with everybody. I had some of the greatest Romanée-Contis with him, you know, I will ever have.
Put on your best Burgundy face. Who wants to drink wine?
At the time when all this was happening, there was a huge demand for old, fine wine. As a whole, Burgundy very quickly went from affordable to unattainable. I guess you can call it the Rudy era.
It's very fine sediment, so stand them up and then put the ice.
The economy was booming back then.
Not laying down.
There were such tiny quantities of Burgundy worldwide. There wasn't enough to satisfy the thirst.
It was all about liquidity, and it continues to be. And any time there's tremendous volatility in a market, and all asset classes move the same.
Dave, your go-to seller is pretty good. Got some good stuff here.
So many of my friends in finance collect wine because when you watch stocks all day on Bloomberg, right, and then you can see auction prices move, there's a certain pride to getting a good buy.
Today, there is no relation between the prices and what is in the bottle. When I sell a bottle, I see this bottle, when it's released, at 1,000. How come?
Dude, I just opened that bottle on Thursday. Now I feel bad. But opening it, that was in a bottle. Can I refill and put the cork back?
It was clear to me in very short order that he had revolutionized the wine market. Prices were skyrocketing. I thought it was a pretty smart little racket. He was cornering the market in a lot of these wines. What a clever thing to do. If you have a lot of money, go in, buy up a lot of wine, drive up the prices, and then start selling at the new high price. There was one other guy there who was always bidding furiously against Rudy, and that guy was the representative for Bill Koch.
Collecting has to have an emotional meaning to me. Part of it is the detective story of tracking it all down. I've collected impressionistic art, I've collected samurai swords, silver coins from Greece, have some antiquities, have some sculpture, and I've collected wine. You want to see my wine bathroom? Bathroom is generally a bathroom, but I thought it'd be more fun to make it interesting. So we put wine crates here, wine labels, corks on the ceiling, and then if you look over there, there are wine bottles on that wall. My secret wine opener, not wine opener, cellar opener. Come on in. I've been a little obsessive about buying wine in the past. I have in total 43,000 bottles with super fine wines. You could taste the love the vintner had in making it. And that to me is almost a religious experience. You know, where we collectors like precious things. Love is extremely precious. What price can you put on the love of your wife? What price? Well, if you're getting divorced, you can, but here's one bottle of Jefferson wine, 1787 Lafitte. I'll set it down on the table. We'll line them up. The reason I wanted to buy 4 bottles of Thomas Jefferson wine is very simple. The mere fact that Thomas Jefferson owned it and held it in his hand, etc., that's part of history. Here's another one, 1787 Mouton, again THJ. Look at this bottle. Isn't it beautiful in and of itself? 1737 Lafitte, Chateau Rothschild. The faker didn't know his wine history very well. because the Rothschilds didn't own Lafite in 1737. Unfortunately, I paid $100,000 per bottle. The Robes Gallery.
Well, the first time I think I found a fake wine, it was because of the weight of the bottle. There was a bottle of Petrus on the back of the table, and I reached to grab it, and when I lifted it up, I almost threw it on the ceiling because it was so light. This has a 75 CL in it, but it's a 1929. That only started with the 1930 vintage. You're looking for anomalies. Is it in the right glass? Does the cork have the right stamp? Is the cork properly aged? Is the paper correct?
Yeah, everything's excellent.
I wonder what the sediment is. If these things have allegedly been together for the last 60 years, they need to look like it.
That is one hot mess.
If the capsule looks like hell and the label looks pristine, that doesn't work. You know, that's got a 95-year-old's face on a teenager's body.
You know, you always want to be careful with these online auctions because you never know the provenance. They just want to sell.
Really, it's hard.
Ah, big bottles of cork. No, I'm just kidding. Not doing that shit.
At the time, fake wine was just starting to be talked about. Rudy was quite the expert on fake wine, and when I asked him about it, he said that he'd bought so much fake wine that he'd had to become an expert on it.
No, they won't tell you that somebody's on it, but sometimes if they doubt the bottle, they put the picture of it. So you be the judge. Okay. You look at the picture, you want it, you take it, you need it. They would.
That's out there looking at
No. They actually
Tell
do.
them about Acker auctions.
You do it on it?
No, we're live.
We're live.
We love it.
Anchor is great, man. We love John.
He and John Capon were meticulously going through all of his wines to catalog everything and sell some off. John Capon was the son of a very nice family-run wine store in Manhattan.
Shopping for anything during the holidays can be simply maddening, and shopping for wine is no exception. I'm here at Acker, Merrill & Condon, the oldest wine store in America, located in New York City.
Acker Merrill wasn't a big house. They were a store that got into the auction world, and then Rudy really made them.
John really turned it into a fun thing. He was the first one to break it out. It was like a giant crazy party with an auction. At the same time he was doing that, Rudy came along with this incredible cellar, and they kind of helped each other.
When Rudy was drinking California Merlot, Acker Merrill Condit was in last place of all the auction houses. When Rudy sold $35 million worth of wine through Acker Merrill Condit in 2 sales in 2006, Acker Merrill became the #1 auction house in the world.
He is the CEO of Acker, Merrill & Condit, and this year he has auctioned off more than $100 million, the first wine house to do so. John Capon joining me. So you can't whine about that revenue and get it wine. John, you're going to leave now, aren't you? All right, well, it's been a pretty crazy year.
There's not much that can be said about this collection outside of the fact it is one of America's greatest. This is a collector that actually inspects his wine. To see all the magnificent wines in there, I said, man, this is a wine collector's dream. I felt like maybe I ought to buy the whole bloody cellar.
You know, the auction is a transaction where you get a catalog. It's 300 pages long. You have 2 weeks to make up your mind. You may win, you may not win.
So they were selling massive amounts of wine. And, I don't know how John could have inspected every single bottle when he's selling $30 million worth of wine.
The fakers like to fake the very hard to find, very old wines because you get them at a much higher price. One night, my bulldog investigator, Brad Goldstein, found that I had just paid $25,000 for one 1921 Magnum Petrus. In 1921, Petrus made no Magnums.
You gotta go, big guy. You gotta go. You wanna go get mommy? Come on. Come on. Bill kept saying to me,